With the NHL season right around the corner, it also means it's time for another season on the virtual ice with the release of EA Sports NHL 26. Hey everyone, Rob Wong with you. Pleased to be joined by NHL 26 Creative Director Mike Inglehart and Principal Designer David Prichett to chat about the latest installment of the longtime NHL video game franchise, with release officially on Friday, September the 12th. And before we dive into specific details about this year's title, Mike, let's start with you. Just in the overall sense, what are you at EA Sports trying to accomplish with this year's game?
Yeah, so we had three main focuses this year on the product. The first one was really about pulling our superstars from the NHL out and creating some separation with them, and also our game. We were able to build a relationship with the NHL to where we were able to get NHL Edge as part of the vehicle powering our gameplay. And so really positioning the gameplay closer to what we see on a night-to-night basis. So we're able to focus on things like attributes. So this year when people play the game, you'll feel the difference between players in terms of their skating acceleration, their top speed. So, expect McDavid, as an example, to go flying down the wing and being, game-breaking like he is in life in the game to a certain extent, because that's really how fast he is in the game. Shot speeds are also an area we looked at, wrist shot speeds, slap shot speeds, to really create, again, that difference. So when a player like Austin Matthews steps into a shot, it does get to the net quicker, so goalies have to react faster, and that makes a difference in terms of trying to close down the lane. And so we think about that. We can also think about X factors and creating the signature elements that really separate the best from the best. And we took our X Factor system, refined it down to 28 X Factors that actually truly impact gameplay. You'd say that the previous iteration we had far too many that really a lot of players didn't really know what they did. And so now all 28 will really impact the experience on a game-by-game basis. So a lot of work on the players there. Tendencies is also something to speak about. So we really studied a lot of the trends and again, the signature play styles players have. So, don't be surprised to see Leon Draisaitl take shots from sharp angles close to the goal line. McKinnon and McDavid to light up the wheels X factor and really try to use their speed as something when they're coming at you. And it's just a lot of distinct differences between the players compared to previous iterations, and they're no longer homogenous. There is differences and uniqueness, and that just makes playing each team, especially from a single player perspective, really rewarding. Be a Pro was also an area we wanted to revitalize and try to create, an experience that is closer mapped to the real world and the pressure that these athletes feel on a night-to-night basis. And that really was building an experience to where, whether you're making decisions off the ice, trying to accomplish challenges on the ice, that everything has consequence and that the pressure is kind of always mounting on the player to bring the best to the ice on a night-to-night basis. And lastly, really breathing a lot of new blood into Hockey Ultimate Team. Our players were looking for difference, something that really changed up the recipe. We have a brand new approach to HUT where we're taking a seasonal model, creating rules, creating approaches. We've added in a salary cap to make the team building more compelling. And again, early out of the gate here, the feedback from our players have been really happy. And we truly have something for everybody in that mode now, whether you're a seasoned player or somebody that wants to play. We have experiences in there now that map to the different player types that exist within our community.
Well, we'll get into those game modes in just a few moments. But David, when it comes to Ice Q, it's 2.0 this year. And as Mike mentioned, you've implemented the NHL Edge tracking data into it. And as he says, you're going to see, some of the superstars in the league play exactly like they do in real life. And one of the areas I think I'm most interested in, and I think usually people are, is the goaltenders. And maybe in years past, it's been a little bit challenging to, try to figure out the fine balance of, how to have some competitive CPU goalies and then at the same time clearly not frustrate the gamer base when they're trying to play. But when it comes to the goalie position this year, what do you think players will notice the most as far as the difference between this year and maybe previous iterations?
Yeah, before I get right into that, do you mind if I just back it up a little bit, just kind of communicate exactly what that edge data is as well? Because I think it's worth everyone kind of knowing what that edge data is. And what it is there is a tracker inside of every single player's jersey on the ice this year in the real world of the NHL. There's a tracker in every single puck as well. And throughout every single game, 14 cameras that are situated, infrared cameras situated in every single one of the real world arenas, they're capturing about 1 million data points for every single game. And these are things like acceleration of the player, player speed, wrist shot power, obviously the positioning as well. And it's just an incredible wealth of data that we were able to pull into our title this year and make what we feel is one of the most authentic experiences we've ever created. And perhaps just as importantly, as a foundation that we'll be able to work on for many years to come. Now, regarding the goaltenders, I'll give you kind of my favorite thing about the goaltenders this year. And Mike, feel free to take it away after that. But if I can just give you a quick anecdote, we were in production this year, and we were all just kind of sitting around. One of our engineers, his name is Carson Lougheed, great guy. We were sitting around his desk just playing the game this year, and he had implemented what I feel is one of the most important pieces, and that's the allowance for goaltenders this year to be able to react split second to a puck changing direction. What we call that, and it's a little bit more technical, but goalies are now able to kind of break out of whatever animation state they were in and react to the chaos that's in front of them, whether that be a puck, coming off a slap shot and off of an ankle, or whether that be some kind of a tip in the right in front of the goaltender. But we were sitting around Carson's desk, and we saw this happen for the very first time, and there was kind of a gasp from all of the developers there as we realized, oh man, this really is something that we were missing. And it makes the goaltenders feel much more intelligent, much more aware of what's happening. And goals are still going to go in. This doesn't make them, they're not a brick wall, just like they aren't in real life. But when they do go in, you'll at least see the goaltender have made a real effort to try to stop that puck, and it makes all the difference. In addition to that, we have the 81 brand new animations for our goaltender this year. And one of my favorite usages of those animations is just the post-goal reactions. So when a goal goes in, depending on the context of the moment, you'll see the goalie react. Sometimes they'll lie back and just take a breather on the ice as they regroup and get ready for the next face-off. But it really adds a sense of authenticity and realism and consequences, I suppose, to the game when you see the goalie react to these kind of post-goal moments with these new animations.
Yeah, I think one other thing to add there, so the branching animations was huge for everything Dave summarized. There were other areas we looked at as well. So we did a lot of work against the post to create better post awareness. And that was really just a battle, players coming out from the corner and really trying to sneak pucks short side up against the post. So the goalies now are much more aware of how to hug and protect the post to make sure they seal that off as much as possible. And then from purely an AI perspective, a lot of work went into depth and angles, right, to really help them do a better job of kind of coming in and moving out of the net to really cut down the angles on shots, giving them a better chance to make saves. And in general, I think players are going to find the goal scoring meta is much different this year in the game. Goalies are definitely going to provide more of a formidable challenge to breaking them down. And, our players are good. They're going to find holes, and it's kind of an infinite game. But as Dave said, I think you'd be really pushed to not find a moment every game you play where the goalies create that couch reaction where you're just astonished to the type of saves that they make in the game this year, and we're super happy with where it landed.
Well, it sounds pretty exciting on that end. And as you've talked about, Mike, here with regards to, the feedback you've gotten from gamers. We know how passionate the NHL fan base is. They're never shy about voicing their concerns about the game, as you know. What are some of the more prominent feedback and that you've heard just from last year's game that maybe you've improved on for NHL 26?
Yeah, I mean, again, out of the gate, it's been quite positive so far. So from, small snippets of people, not everything we do is sort of a banner change to the game, but, yesterday, a few reels popping up with players just giving credit to some of the small changes we've done with passing, which just makes the game more fluid. Hockey is a very fluid, fast-moving game, and obviously, passing system has to complement that. Our HUT players out of the gate, again, change is hard, and you want to make sure when you're bringing change in that it's going to land. We do a lot of work prior to going out, talking to different groups, talking to players that play the modes. But overall, the response to HUT, and to be frank, what we're also seeing and how the game is performing, just the numbers perspective, it's been very positive, and there hasn't been much noise. I also give our team a ton of credit our launch has been very smooth this year. And so that really allows players to just get in and start playing the game. Be a Pro, again, a lot of good, whether it's influencers online that sort of broadcast their own story and play the game, but we're seeing a lot of people play Be a Pro. And in our industry, kind of when there's not a lot of noise, that's a really good sign because it means your players are just in there enjoying the game. And it's a bit uncomfortable when it's quiet, but that's actually what you're looking for. But when feedback comes in, we talk to our community team, the sentiment out of the gate has been positive. And again, I think we're really happy with where it's landed. We're not done. We're going to continue doing quality of life fixes and changes and patches and addressing things as we go. But I don't think we could have asked for a better start with the product heading into the full worldwide release this Friday.
So, David, I'm a Hut guy through and through, love Hockey Ultimate Team. Tell me about Hut Seasons, how team building is related, and Cup Chase, a new mode as well.
I could speak to this, but I'll probably hand it back over to Mike to go a little bit more in depth in the Hut area.
Yeah, so for Hockey Ultimate Team, again, in talking to the community, change was just needed. The product had become, or the mode had become a little stale. People felt it was very samey, doing the same thing year after year. And while it's fun to get the next highest rated player and plug them into the lineup, there has to be something more. And so we looked at not just our product, but other card collecting games that were out there. And we had been experimenting with some things in some of our events around this aspect of a salary cap as well. So we came back with a brand new team building approach. The game is broken down into 6 seasons over the course of the year. And within each season, there are specific rule sets that you have to build your team by. So there will be a salary cap, so all players come with a cost to them. We've also introduced this new line combination system. And so every season there will be unique sets of line combinations that come out. And as you build your team, if you're able to complete some of those setups, you'll earn more OVR for that line. You could get more ability points, allowing you to unlock different bonuses on those players. You can also unlock recipes or combinations that increase the salary cap of your team. So depending on who you put in and what you want to chase, it really comes down to your own personal objective approach to how you build that team. You can, of course, ignore the system as well and just build the team that you want to build. The only thing there is building it within the salary cap is a rule that's always going to exist. There's also the new captain chemistry that we put into the game. So you'll pick a captain at the beginning of each season. Season 1, they're aligned to the different divisions in the NHL. So if you pick the captain from the Atlantic Division, if you can outfit your team with a specific number of players from Atlantic Division teams, you'll get another boost that will pump that team up. And so the idea was, if you, me, and Dave are all players within Hockey Ultimate Team, can we get away from everybody building the same type of lineup and actually have players build teams or decks, if you will, that are unique based on what they want to chase? And again, so far the feedback around it has been good. We're seeing more people spend more time in the team building component, which is one of the outputs we wanted to see. And again, the idea is that there's going to be many, many different Hockey Ultimate teams that people are building against the rule sets that we have. Hut Cup Chase was designed for the new player. We have a lot of players that come into Hut and haven't necessarily found a place that captures what they want to do. So we created a single player experience. You'll build your Hockey Ultimate Team just like everybody else, and then you'll be placed in a 18-game schedule against 9 other teams that are controlled by the CPU. Choose the skill level that best represents your skill in the game, and then you're playing for rewards. So the idea is to qualify for the playoffs. You play each team twice, qualify for the playoffs, make it to the final, and then try to win the coveted Hut Cup and walk away with some rewards that will help boost your team further. That setup will also change every season. So every season, there'll be a different set of teams to play against, meaning that players could come in and literally just play Hut Cup Chase as a new player to Hockey Ultimate Team all year long and always have a new experience ahead of them.
Yeah, that's great for people that love the offline grind. We know X Factors are obviously, a huge part of the game, David, and you guys have made some tweaks this year to those. What are you seeing on that end, at least so far through early access, and what are you excited about on that front?
Yeah, so for the X Factors, this is a major overhaul for us. I think in previous years we had somewhere upwards of 70 X Factors, and what that resulted in were some of the X Factors were felt, and a lot of them were much more passive, and it really wasn't clear exactly what the impact of those X Factors were. And obviously, with a name like X Factors, we want to do them justice, right? Because the idea behind this is that players that have these can be the X Factors, can be the game breakers in a given game. So we distilled this down to 28 X Factors. And what we really focused on was making sure that every single X Factor could be felt. And I think we've largely hit that. So now when people are choosing or earning these X Factors, it really is, it's quite a difficult task because you don't want to give up on wheels just to have truculence, but you need truculence and you might need a whole host of these other X Factors as well. So there really is an element of strategy there now. There is no obvious build that a user can kind of gravitate towards as the best build. It really is what is the best build for my play style, or what is the best build for my play style on my team, if we're speaking of World of Chell and Ishal. And in addition to that, I just want to say this year it's a small thing, as Mike mentioned. Sometimes it's the small things that matter. But we actually have what X Factor is triggering at a given moment within the game while you're playing. So you can actually see the name of the X Factor. And this is something that can be turned off for those people that want a more authentic broadcast experience. But it's super helpful because it teaches you not only how your teammates, what their skills and strengths are, and when they're using it, so you can set them up in better situations, but it also communicates to you very clearly what your opponents have and how they're using it against you as well. So it adds this tremendous level of strategy through the transparency of the system this year that I think is kind of a dark horse for one of the best features of the year for us.
And you do really feel that as well when you play any of our, say, franchise season mode where the NHL teams are involved. These X Factors, when we did the revisit to this, it was about how do we take the sort of the weaponized skills of the NHL players and really bring them to life. So to Dave's point, I'll just touch on Matthews again. If you see Matthews cutting into the slot, the expectation is that guy can fire the puck off the stick in the blink of an eye. And that's what everybody fears when it's out there. So him having our quick release X Factor, which is a faster shooting animation with fewer frames of animation, you're now fearing him for the exact reason why he's feared in the NHL, and the gameplay outcome is going to mimic that. And so that inspiration, whether it's truculence with a guy like Trouba, elite edges kind of coming from Quinn Hughes and his ability to move laterally, there's a ton of inspiration driven from NHL players. And to Dave's point, whether you're playing World of Chell, whether you're playing the NHL-inspired modes, those X Factors now become the weapons that you fear on the ice that you're either deploying to try to win the game or really protecting against to make sure they don't get the best of you.
Yeah, sounds really exciting as far as the variety I think you guys are talking about and the different team builds and player builds that we're going to see. Should be really exciting. You mentioned Be a Pro before, Mike, and the big overhaul there. It's been a long time mode that people have played. What do you think will be the biggest changes? Because there does seem to be a few.
Yeah, I mean it's still a mode where you're playing from draft prospect to trying to make your way to a storied legacy, but we just reimagined the entire mode. We looked at a lot of our player feedback from the iteration that existed previously. A lot of the conversations, as one of the points to talk about, they really didn't feel like they fit contextually into what happens in an NHL career, what the fantasy is of that. So we took a step back and we said, one, let's have more gameplay and less conversation, because that was also a piece of critical feedback. But when you're talking, let's make them contextually fit to what a player goes through. So dealing with the media is a huge portion of a player's career. And, every time you stand in front of them, whether you're at the height of your game or whether you're struggling, every answer you give is going to have an impact. Could impact your teammates, could impact management, could impact yourself in terms of the effects on you. And so we really wanted to put this idea of consequence across the entire mode, but really inside those conversations. You'll interact with your agent, you'll interact with your coach, you'll interact with your GM, and of course the media. So that's a huge portion. No more talking about going bowling with the captain to kick off the mode. It's really about how your performance on the ice is being measured. And then connecting to that, we wanted to make sure that every game mattered on the ice. And the previous iteration didn't necessarily do that. So we have this component in the game called form score, which is really kind of your stock within the team. This is how the franchise sees you and is evaluating you. And then every the game is broken down into chapters. So every chapter you'll have challenges that you have to overcome, and you'll be measured against those challenges. Do well and expect to get bumped up in the depth chart, get a shot at special teams units, but go the other way and you can find yourself on the bus down to the AHL, playing your way out of the minors back into the NHL. Also something that our community wanted. So every decision, every game, every shift, consequences at the forefront, a bit more emotion connected to what players feel. And the game now is built around that pressure that NHL players go through and the highs and lows that also come with it.
Well, as someone that has been a media member in some of these scrums, can't wait to see how it's implemented into the Be a Pro mode. Before we wrap up, I wanted to get a quick thought from both of you guys about this year's games, just as far as what you're most excited for. We'll start with you, David.
Yeah, I would say most excited about people experiencing the authenticity difference that IceQ and Edge really makes in the game this year. Taking 1 million data points per game for all of our players and distilling it down to something that not only feels authentic but is also fun is definitely a challenge, was a challenge, and will continue to be. But for our end users, what I think they're going to feel is that it's just these small decisions that are being made by the players on the ice that feel suddenly more authentic, and especially those players of ours that are familiar with all the NHL teams. I think when you go from one game to the next, when you battle one team and then the next one, they're going to feel like they're real life counterparts. So I think definitely that's the most exciting thing that I'm experiencing so far playing.
Mike, what about you?
Oh, it's so hard to pick just one thing. I'll say maybe I'm excited about everything we've talked about here because there's so many different players that we build for every year. But maybe I'll talk about one thing we didn't discuss, which is the new replays and the insights that we've created for those. The replay system was massively overhauled this year. Something that Dave worked on directly, and we really tried to connect it into what NHL Edge shows with a lot of their promotional videos and how those insights are on the surface. And obviously data is becoming a huge part of sports. So for people who really love broadcast, when the replays kick in this year, take the time to digest that because we've got a ton of really, really inspired broadcast angles that we haven't had before. And the stories that come out of it, whether it's, they're not always inside driven. So it could be a Gordie Howe hat trick. It could be a big save at one end leading to a goal at the other. But then if the goalie makes a great save, what was the threat analysis on that shot? What was the likelihood that was going to go in? We saw one recently, it was like 97%, which was one of the highest ones we've seen, where the goalie basically is bringing the puck back from the death and keeping it out of the net. And there's just a whole myriad of those in the game. And if you play in franchise mode, the longer you play, the richer the stories become. So that's a feature that I think if you're a purist and you love all the broadcast components, our players, our franchise, be a pro season, they'll really love that. But it also does benefit Hut and World of Chell as well. And I think that's a feature that it's one of those touches of authenticity that just gives us a year-over-year difference that I think our players are really going to appreciate. And I love watching the replays just to see what story is going to be told.
And just to add to that, just super quick as well, I'm so glad you brought this up, Mike. It's not just about the replays after a goal or a big hit. We are inserting replay packages into the game, which we really try to use to tell the story of the game. And in addition to that, we're no longer just showing just a small snippet of a replay. If we feel there's additional context, like a fumble in one end of the ice, which resulted in a goal in the other, we really try to show the additional context that is that story for that particular moment. So yeah, it's a huge win for us, and is another one of those things that the community has been asking for many years.
Well, it sounds like you guys have done a ton of work to get ready for another year. Mike, David, thanks so much for chatting with me, and best of luck this year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Again, EA Sports NHL 26 comes out this Friday, September the 12th. You can get it on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S.